A young girl by the name of Neilani was playing with her family in a river near Blackwater, Australia. This 4-year-old girl and her family were having a great time until suddenly they heard a loud sound from upstream. A weir had collapsed. The water went from knee to chest high, and while the adults swimming were able to grab onto branches nearby, young Neilani was left helpless. 1.5 billion gallons of water rushed into the swimming hole and taking Neilani and killing her. The family of this girl pressed charges, and after 5 years, the company was fined $80,000. Although this incident occurred in 2008, it doesn't take away from the sadness and that the family of Neilani went through, and most importantly, shows the dangers of an unsafe dam. But I can tell what you're thinking. What the heck's a weir? In essence, it's a low-head dam that allows water to pass over top of it, raising the water level behind it. This allows for things like recreation, boating, and even hydroelectric power to exist. But these low-head dams present large problems when they age because they are prone to failure, which is exactly what happened to Neilani. The reasons will be shown as to why we even use weirs in the first place. Then the issues regarding low-head dams will be shown, and finally the negative effects will be presented. The solutions will be presented. This will show that weirs are dangerous, but how we can make them much safer in the future. First, why weirs? A goal of a weir is to raise the water upstream, as previously mentioned, and this is used by a large triangular slab of concrete put smack dab in the middle of a river, creek, or lake runoff. One example of this is the Dewey Short Dam in Missouri. This weir is at the runoff of a lake and has many functions, including the creation of recreation, and as it would simply be an empty valley without the weir there. Second, it provides hydroelectric power for the surrounding city, Branson, and it provides very cheap energy. This is the case with many dams throughout the nation, and I have been personally appreciative of the Dewey Short Dam because of all the memories I have from it. Without the weir there, the city would not have the power, and I would not have all of those memories of that lake. So, in general, dams generate a pool of water behind a large block of concrete or other material that allow for stored water to produce energy and create a pool of water for recreation. Now on to the dangers of weirs. The first danger is upkeep related. Low-head dams require maintenance, but not much of it. Every 50 years or so, a weir needs to be updated, but according to the New York Times article by Sarah Al-Mukhtar in 2017, not every dam is treated this way. The same article claims that by 2020, 70% of dams in the United States will be more than 50 years old. Well, it's 2020, and 70% of our dams are more than 50 years old, but amongst all of the things going on in the world right now, the government isn't able to get those fixed. Even worse is simply the number of dams that are just abandoned. In the article by Al-Mukhtar states that a major dam is determined by height or storage capacity. If you want to think of an example of a major dam, think about the Hoover Dam. That's a major dam. But there are more than 90,000 dams in the United States, and only 8,000 are major. These quote-unquote 82,000 non-hazardous dams are often neglected as if they are privately owned, as they simply have just lost their purpose and have no need to be managed. Small weirs often have this treatment because of their size, but even these so-called non-hazardous dams can create floods that cause serious damage, just like in the case of Neilani. The third issue is community related. Not community related, but instead on a small scale. The flow of water over concrete structures creates an effect called turbulent flow. Turbulent flow is when slow-moving water suddenly has fast-moving water pass underneath it, rising up and creating a boiling effect, known as boiling. This creates a washing machine-like effect that catches swimmers and kayakers and creates a perfect drowning machine. Turbulent flow is the easiest way to drown and has killed hundreds of swimmers and kayakers. The final issue with weirs is their environmental impact. According to Yang Lui with River Research and Applications in May 2019, disturbances in rivers may cause cosmopolitan or invasive species to replace endemic or indigenous species, which will both alter the within community diversities and between community diversities and similarities of stream fish assemblages. This basically means that species have a better ability to exist in ecosystems built by the usage of weirs. The problem is those species are invasive because they were made to exist in those types of pools, whereas the fish that used to live there were not. So in summary, worn weirs have a risk of breaking, taking both the lives of swimmers and the homes of communities downstream. Low-head dams produce turbulent flow proven deadly by the 100 killed from it, and weirs have long-lasting environmental impact, allowing for invasive species to exist easier. Not all that bad, right? Well, at least there's some solutions for this. In an article by the United States Fed News Service in January 2020, the state of Indiana is taking precautions from people swimming around weirs. This proposed legislation would make it a Class C infraction, or the equivalent of running a stop sign, to sit, stand, walk, or swim or wade within 50 feet of a low-head dam when warning signs are present. These precautions will make it much safer to be around weirs, because you can't be around the weirs. By blocking access, the state of Indiana is making sure that nobody even goes near a low-head dam, so the number of deaths and injuries should decrease greatly. The only problem is implementation. It's not very easy to implement something like that because you're not just going to have a cop sitting by the weir all the time. So the fact is we need another solution. Removing dams is another way, but again, this is not perfect either. According to an article by the Targeted News Service on December 11th, 2019, the American Rivers Foundation will receive a grant from the Paul G. Allen Foundation. The grant will support American rivers in building capacity for river restoration region-wide, so that high-quality, community-supported dam removal projects in the Northwest can be identified and implemented more quickly in order to support habitat restoration. American Rivers is just one dam removal service, and by removing the dam, you avoid the risk of them breaking altogether and prevent drownings from turbulent flow because they're not formed. And they rid the rivers of the ecological impact. But once again, it's not perfect because when you remove the dam, you're removing all of the hydropower that you could have gained from it and all the recreation that you could have gotten. So I believe that we need to strike a compromise. By mandating the removal of weirs that have no usage, you not only get the ecological impact back, but you're preventing these structures from breaking. But we can still use the weirs that are safe if they're properly kept up by the city and when they have safety precautions in place. By allowing weirs to function, we get the benefits of them, but by taking down unnecessary dams, we can allow ecosystems to return as they once were. With proper warning signs and fine implementation, the number of deaths caused by turbulent flow in low-head dams will be greatly decreased. Worn weirs are well-designed structures with a clear intent: rise water levels. But, as shown, that's not always the best thing for the environment, community, and individuals. Therefore, while weirs pose a threat to us now, it's not unsolvable. By supporting a cause like this, we can make a change in the way that weirs are kept up and in the way that they impact the environment while still allowing them to produce power for homes nationwide. There are positives and negatives with the usage of weirs, but by striking a balance, we can allow these structures to coexist with our rivers.